Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson, and I'm always, joined by my good friend and colleague Brian. And Brian, here tonight, we are going to be discussing a Val Kilmer doubleheader. We will be discussing Top Secret and Tombstone. I've been under the weather, dealing with a cold, so if I seem loopier than usual, that's why. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review on Apple and Spotify to get those algorithms going. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. Brian, Val Kilmer's birthday is on December the 31st, and this is our very first year without him. And you felt it would be very fitting to pay tribute to him by talking about this doubleheader. But I do want to point out for anybody who is listening to this, if you have not watched TCM Remembers and you need a good cry before the end of the year or to start the new year, go check out TCM Remembers on YouTube.
Oh, that's the one I'm gonna have to avoid for a while because I'll get really emotional. But yeah, I've been wanting to watch Top Secret for a long time. Ever since I heard that it was like the middle child between Airplane and Naked Gun for the Zucker brothers, and it's always been around the streamers, and I never quite found myself to hit play, right? And then Val Kilmer died this past year, and then I was looking back on his filmography, and I was like, holy shit, he did a Zucker brothers movie. And I went and did some like deep diving, and I was like, wow, a lot of people really highly regard this movie. Top Secret is like one of the most unsung comedies of all time, I guess. Which we'll talk about because there's a lot of like things going on with this movie in terms of like being so layered that it's like so dense for a regular audience, I think. But in terms of Val Kilmer leading a comedic performance, like he does a great job, surprisingly. And like his comic timing's great. The kind of like dumb comedy that the Zucker brothers present in this movie is great. And I think that him like actually singing the songs, which we'll talk about in a minute, because like it's so great, just adds to it. And I couldn't help but think like this is 1984, right? And of course, I was also thinking about Streets of Fire, which we reviewed last year. This actually came out a week apart from Streets of Fire, so I was like, oh man, something's on the same wavelength around that same time, like because it was like both the musical kind of feel, right, and you got these young male singers in the lead role kind of
It's
thing
the
going on.
MTV influence, my friend. That's
Oh, I know.
undoubtedly.
Yeah, but the timing is so unbelievable considering
Yes,
like I
right,
was thinking
Brian.
about both. Yeah.
But do
So,
you realize what was also happening around this time? You had Cindy Lauper making WWF appearances. So
oh, I know. Yeah.
this is
It's
the
it's
MTVization of movies and
right.
television. And it's been on my mind because I've been reading the Gorilla Monsoon biography that recently came out, and it's really good. So I highly recommend people check that out. But it was at top of mind because I just read that part.
For sure. And it was just so strange because it has a similar feel. And they came out a week apart and they both didn't make as much money as they should have, probably, all things considering. Um, Even with this kind of movie, I know the audience probably didn't get all the jokes because there's so many jokes layered on top of jokes. Like I mentioned, that hat in the hat gimmick. This definitely has a hat on a hat gimmick syndrome, where like there's a joke in the forefront, there's a joke in the background, there's a joke in the middle ground, and there's probably a joke going on with the background actors, right? All this going on screen like multiple times during the movie, so it's
And
really
I
hard to
and I
follow
don't
at
think the
first.
tone works totally. I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that you're not wrong, but it also feels like the movie, unlike, I mean, I guess Airplane does have a plot, but like this is like trying to have a plot and it doesn't work
Yeah,
nearly
the
as
plot's in the
well.
background. Like literally, the plot is at the background of this movie because it's like I don't even know who or what was going on with Germany and who was a spy. All I know that Omar Sharif turned into a car, or no,
I
Omar
mean, part
Sharif
of
goes
what
into a
they're
car and
doing
gets
is
crushed.
they're homaging Casablanca. I mean, if you look at Lucy Gutteridge, she literally looks like um Ingrid Bergman. So there you
Yeah, I
go.
know that's that's the vibe they were going for. And then you also mentioned this was the rise of the Beach Boys, which I was kind of like, really? Because I thought the rise of the or the return of the Beach Boys, I should say, came from the John Stamos connection, right? With Full House. I thought that's where he came from because he was in the
It did not,
video,
my friend. It
but this
started
was
the next
before that.
year.
Yeah, so I was kind of
Yeah,
shocked that they
I,
were doing
I
all this
I
Beach
don't know
Boys
if
stuff.
this necessarily connected, but I mean this movie comes out. The Beach Boys have their renaissance in '85, and Kokomo comes out, which is both a well-regarded song in terms of being popular, but also not well-regarded in that people think it's one of the worst songs ever. I mean, it's yacht rock. I mean, that it is the very definition of that, and I think it works out. I think Top Secret at times can be very good, and at times it falters. And I think that's part of the problem with any comedy is, I mean, comedies are hard. It is hard to make people laugh, to be consciously trying to make people laugh, especially in movies. I feel like in TV, in some ways, it's almost a little bit easier when you have that sitcom, when you have those characters, and when you can build around it. Like with a movie, you've got 90 minutes, and you're trying to get people in and out, and I think it's really tough. This is not as successful as Airplane, which I would consider to be one of the greatest comedies of all time. This is not in the neighborhood of Naked Gun either. This kind of occupies a middle ground, and I think part of it is, I think Val Kilmer does as good of a job as he can do, but it almost feels like there's something missing in terms of the comedy. It feels like obviously they have their repertory players, the Leslie Nielsen's, the Robert Stacks, and it just feels like there's one comedy person short, and that's because one of the things that is part of this movie is Peter Cushing and Michael Gough are both in this movie. And I remember texting Brian, I was like, Brian, is this a Hammer horror movie because of these two members of the cast? And it's not. And it just feels like we're one comedy person short.
Right, and the way they used them was interesting too, because like first of all, Michael Gough is pretty much a scientist in this movie, and he's trying to break out of prison, and he meets Val Kilmer, and that's how they meet up. With Peter Cushing, it was just like, okay, he's going to meet up with this historian, this guy in the library, but for some reason, there's no explanation I can find. I don't know what it is, but the scene with Peter Cushing is played in reverse, and they make fun of it like in like a physical comedy way, where like it seems like Val Kilmer's like throwing books onto the shelf, right, like perfectly, but in reality he's just like catching it because they're filming it in reverse. I have no idea why they did that, and this is where I started thinking. I think I texted Jerome at this point, like this could be the shining of comedy movies because there are so many layered things going on that you just feel like there's too much going on when you first see it. And that's kind of what happens when you first watch The Shining, because it's so encompassing that there's so much going on that it takes multiple viewings to like ingest everything. So I don't know, like if I'm gonna have to watch this movie multiple times, because I had to rewind so many scenes to make sure that like my brain didn't like glitch or something, because it felt like my brain was glitching while watching this movie because of the things that were going on. I'm like, did that really just happen? Did I just see this guy turn into a statue and fall 30 feet and just shatter on the ground? Like crazy shit like this. So, and I don't have this as much like going on with Airplane and Naked Gun as much, but man, this movie is like so layered. It's like you laugh like sometimes 15 seconds after the joke because
And
you
I think
realize
that
what just
the
happened.
part of what makes this so unique is that the comedy is there, and you almost have to find it. And I think that's and in modern times, I think that's really hard to do because of the second screen experience. And I think a lot of people are feeling that frustration, especially with the recent drop of Volume Two of Stranger Things season five. I think people have been kind of complaining about like Netflix shows spelling things out because of the second screen. This is not a movie that does that. This is a movie that expects you to be paying attention to the comedy, and the comedy is everywhere. Again, you just have to look for it.
Right. And another scene I kind of want to kind of make an example of is like there's this ballet scene, right? And then they're making fun of ballet, and the dudes have these giant balls and penises, and then the woman starts like ballet dancing on top of it like a fucking like platform. I had to rewind that to make sure that I was like correctly interpreting what was going on in my brain, right? Like it's that kind of
Right.
craziness.
I am really surprised that we didn't get more musicals from this crew. It just feels like they were really wanting to do a musical, especially watching this movie. It was surprising to me.
See, the thing is, like, I think the songs actually fit this movie because the songs are like tone wise, kind of like fun, ridiculous teen songs, and you're placing it in a spy movie, right? So you can kind of see the contrast in that, and you can make fun of that, and that works out for the scene where he's got like I don't know, he's doing the Beatles scene on Ed Sullivan kind of gimmick, right? And then all the women are just like losing their shit. But for another thing I noticed too, like the moment that all the women start losing their shit in the audience, the Zucker brothers mute the audience. So we never hear the screams like after that point. It was just him singing. I was like, what a choice! Like we're seeing women scream, but we can't hear them, and we just hear the music. Like what an interesting choice that was. A lot of interesting choices in this movie, Jerome. Like that's all I got to say. It's like a lot of interesting choices. It's a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Like I was laughing probably later than the jokes hit, right? Because I had to think about what I just saw.
Yeah, there was definitely a delay in some of the humor. I think this movie is about a 6 out of 10, and I think part of my frustration is that there are a lot of jokes, but like with any comedy, like 1 out of 3 is hitting for me. And I mean, look, Val Kilmer is an interesting choice, and I think he does the best with what he can do. But after our text exchange about Streets of Fire, I just wanted to see Val Kilmer in Streets of Fire because it feels like he would have been the perfect person for that.
Hands down, that was the big revelation out of that conversation. Is like they should have switched roles and it would have been so much better. I can imagine him having like that Streets of Fire, like what do you call it, that attitude that that character had. I just put it on
Yeah,
Val Kilmer. You get a bit of that Iceman, right? Mixed with him actually singing the song. Yeah, it would have been fantastic. And I think and you actually see him dance in this, which is like, again, this guy's multi-talented singer, dancer, actor, what have you. And he just puts all his talents in display in this movie. And I think you kind of see like the wide spectrum of all the talent that Val Kilmer had, especially in like 1984. You know what I mean? And we know him as like this 90s
yeah.
icon. So it's really crazy to see him like fully on display and they can do all this stuff. So credit to Val Kilmer for kind of keeping the movie together. Zucker Brothers tried to do something like very
Yeah,
like
I mean, the thing
Stanley
is, like,
Kubrickish.
I mean, this is a movie that only costs $9 million. It makes $20 million, so either it makes a profit or comes very close to. And again, it would be great if we could return to an era like this where we could be making comedies, $10 to $20 million, with the expectation they make 40 to 50. And I think we would just be in a lot better position if we could just make movies that are cheaper, so that not every movie has to make $1 billion. Because I think that's the trap that we're stuck in, and it's hard because I mean, look, the Housemaid is a movie that recently came out, and it's doing moderately well, but it has $110 million budget. So the issue then becomes like, how does that movie make its money back? So this is definitely a throwback to a simpler time, and I think that it would be also great if we could get comedies back in theaters again. I know Naked Gun, the reboot, was kind of a moderate success. I don't know, man. I just want to see comedy. I want to go to the theater and laugh.
I get you, and make it 90 minutes and not hour 45, which has been my issue on some things lately when you with these scripts with comedy
It's
nowadays.
really frustrating that, and there have been a couple 90-minute movies, and it is always a relief. Like, even some of the movies. So Ben Phillips and I will be doing our top 10 movies of the year a little bit. We'll be recording later this week. I'm sure it'll be released sometime next week. And it's just like all these movies are 2 hours and 20, 30, 40 minutes. And it's just like, can we get some movies that are like 90 to 95 minutes, please? Please.
I get you, man. I get you, but it's hard to do in the movie like Sinners or like Weapons, right?
I mean,
But
I'm
of
not,
course,
look,
there's
I'm
more
not,
than that.
I don't
I
want
mean,
to
those are just kind of
individually
the
call
picks
them.
off my head, like the picks off the top of my head,
Yeah.
right? But I do remember those being like 210, 220. But so in some situations, you can easily cut some stuff out, right? But just wanted to point out as well, this is 1984, and we have a white pretty boy singer going up on stage with an all black band performing in front of a live audience. Does that sound
Oh,
familiar?
boy.
Sound
Great
familiar?
Scott. Great Scott. There's been a lot of Back to the Future references in our text chain as well, because we have had many chalkboard scenes in Stranger Things season 5.
Yeah, I haven't watched the 3 episodes that have dropped yet as of this recording. I'm saving it for probably December 30th and making it like right at December 31st because they're going to back to back. But from what I'm hearing, I could be right in my theory on time travel and probably the exact thing that Apocalypse tried to do in the X-Men show with 12 psychics. So
I mean, we'll see.
there you
We'll
go.
see. We'll,
We'll
we'll,
see.
that we may have to revisit this conversation. Let's talk about Tombstone, a movie that came out in 1993.
A Christmas
That
movie?
maybe question
Because
mark.
it came out Christmas Day and it ends on Christmas Day in the movie. So I was like,
I mean,
oh, they did
I
that
don't know
because
that
it
this
came out on
depicts this
Christmas Day.
movie, but I watched this movie earlier this year for the first time, and I thought it was spectacular. I literally watched this. I think what happened is Val Kilmer passed, and honest trailer. There was an honest trailer for this, and I was like, "How have I not seen this movie?" Because the honest trailer, typically the honest trailers make the movie look kind of, they mock the movie, but this honest trailer actually made the movie seem really good. So I was like, "Okay, I have to watch it." So like 2 days later, I watched Tombstone, and indeed, I thought it was amazing. This movie rules. What a great cast! Just an incredible cast. You have Kurt Russell, you have Val Kilmer, but you also have Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Dana Delaney, and even Charlton Heston. And the movie is narrated by Robert Goddamn Mitchum. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this in terms of westerns. Stay for Once Upon a Time.
Okay, so this movie I've seen in parts at first before I fully watched it recently because it's always on TV, right? So I always watch like the poker scenes or like the Huckleberry scene at the end or just those random scenes that you kind of remember from this movie. And then finally all the pieces kind of came together and I was like, "Oh, it's a little bit of Magnificent Seven." You know what I mean? A little bit of that, like, oh, the bad guys come to town. We got to defend the good people of the town gimmick, right? That little bit of Clint Eastwoodism. But it kind of turns dark, folks, because it doesn't, let's just say it doesn't plan out well for the family of the Werps, right? Like it's just like you got the brothers come to town, they're trying to be separate from the law. They don't want to have anything to do with the law. They just want to make their money. And then push comes to shove, and it's like they're almost forced into it, right? Because of the older brothers, just or Sam Neill's like, or Sam Elliott's like, we can't just ignore this, right? We're making profit off these poor people that are getting like robbed by these people. So like, what are we actually doing, right? It's that
And when
morality
Sam
thing.
Elliott says it, it sounds so much better because I mean, let's be clear, neither one of us is Sam Elliott, and thus we can't sound as good.
Right, and he makes it so like morally authentic, right, or like morally just that we have to do this. And of course, Bill Paxton, the younger brother, joins him, but not naively joins him, right, because he regrets it later. And then finally, Kurt Russell's like, "Fuck, all right, you got me. We're in the middle of a battle. We're about to fight these people. I have to join you." So he becomes a marshal, and the shit just goes down. So if you've ever heard that fight of the OK Corral, this is what this comes from historically. And I've been to the Gene Autry Museum a couple times as a kid, and they have this display of like what happened at the OK Corral, right? And all these kids are expecting like a shootout with the models and the dummies, but all you just hear is like the sound effects and nothing really being shot out, and the kids going, "Oh, I didn't see any shooting." And I always remember that going to the Gene Autry Museum because we wanted to see a shootout, but we never actually got it. But we actually get it here in Tombstone, so that was really cool. So that kind of like was like, "Oh, this is from my childhood," literally, because I saw the display at the museum that we never actually got fully. So that was cool. Thomas Hayden Church in this movie is like a young guy, like he's almost a baby, right? And he's doing wings at this time. So yeah, and then Michael Rooker uh, playing a guy that
Just an
turns
incredible
babyface.
cast. I mean, top to bottom. I mean, I highlighted some of the main players, but even when you dig in, like you're getting Michael Rooker kind of when he's like middling in terms of like being in the middle of his career, and I mean it's unbelievable. Thomas Hayden Church, as you mentioned, being on the TV show Wings, like just some great, great casting.
And Powers Booth, man, it's like we know him now as like a little heavier, like in his later years, a little heavier, grayer hair, that look from the Avengers. Here he's like in really great shape, and I was kind of shocked because like I'm not used to seeing him like that. And they covered up his gray, and I don't know if he had gray hair at the time, but they put a good wig on him, a good mustache. They pretty much de-aged him. It feels like, right? Because he seems younger than Kurt Russell in this movie a little bit, maybe the same age, but they're actually 3 years apart. But if you look where they were at in 2017 when Powers died, clearly Kurt Russell was like looking way better, right? Like we see him in the Marvel movies, he's looking way better. I just don't know what that, because I know Powers who died of like I think cancer or something, and I don't know if that really just
Yeah,
affected his
I
body.
mean, and also when you're that rich, you can afford to nips and tucks here, perhaps, maybe. I
Right?
mean,
Yeah. But I was just in
there's
shock
also
because
that
like Powers
possibility.
would look
But
so different in this movie than what I was used to because I saw him at his later stages. So that was really refreshing. And of course, Michael Biehn. I mean, God, is he the most underappreciated actor of our generation? Like of the past 30 years?
I
Like,
mean, I don't know.
you
Like,
know what
I
I mean?
feel
Because
like
people love him from the camera and stuff, and people thought he should have gotten an award for The Abyss. And, he's from the Terminator and Aliens, and he's just such a
it's really
reliable guy.
unusual to me. It's really unusual to me that he didn't have a bigger career. Like you look at, yeah, I mean, he was in James Cameron stuff, but it just feels like he should have been a more consistent presence in movies and shows. So that's what's so unusual to me about this situation.
To me, like if we were to bring Michael Bean back and have a comeback, he's only 69. I've just looked it up. I can see him as Cyclops' dad, like something like that. You know what I mean? Like that perfect kind of like fatherly
I
role
mean,
to a
who
superhero.
knows? Who
You know
knows?
what I mean? Like, can you just imagine him in like in space and him talking to Cyclops and like having that discussion of like, I was never there for you, but I want to be there for you now. That kind of like fatherly, like, oh my god, tearjerker, like monologue that we know this guy can have.
I'm surprised that they didn't bring him in for straight because every season it feels like they bring in one or two like 80s icons, and season 5 has been Linda Hamilton. I am really surprised that Michael Bean was not brought in for one season.
Yeah, I was shocked.
It's
Well, if
very
you think
shocking
about
to
it, that he needed the right role, and I don't think that. Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's a surprise with him coming in the finale or something
I mean, I seriously don't. I mean, you're not going to bring
because
in
they
Linda
did bring in
Hamilton
Linda
for Michael.
Hamilton. Yeah, like they brought in Linda Hamilton. They referenced Arnold Schwarzenegger. They brought in Carrie Hewells, right? All these 80s people. So
I
you
mean,
never
Sean
know.
Bean from Goonies. I mean,
Right.
Matthew Modine is most associated with the 80s. Paul Reiser, like you bring him in because of the Alien connection.
Yeah, it's just weird, man, because I think he's so like so good in everything he does, and he gives it all. Like he always gives it all. And like even in this role where you know that like at all this great cast that we know Val Kilmer stealing the show, right? But I don't know. Number two seems like Michael Bean. Like he's just so every time he gets in the role, he goes to the darker side of that role, right? And then remember that scene. One of the best scenes I think is like when they see the Faust play, and then Powers Booth goes next to him. He goes like, "So what would you ask for the devil? You know, what would you want?" And then Michael Bean goes, "I already got it." And I was like, "That is so cold." Like whatever he did
There's a lot of us
must have
love
been
the
so
cynical.
cold blooded that he doesn't need to ask anything from the devil anymore. And I was like, "Wow, that's the fucking
I
line, dude."
mean,
And that,
if
yeah,
you think about it, think about this. I mean, Unforgiven comes out a year prior, and it's very much like a traditional Western in the vein of something that you would see in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Whereas this movie feels like it's trying to update the Western for the 90s. Like, clearly it's taking place at the same time as any other Western, but clearly they're trying to update, the lingo, the way that the action scenes are shot, bringing in a fresh cast. So clearly they're making some decisions. And I look at this movie, and I also look at The Quick and the Dead as well, which we have discussed. Like those are two movies that are trying to evolve the Western past what Clint Eastwood did, because in many ways Clint Eastwood ended the Western with Unforgiven, at least that version of the Western. It feels like the last one, and it feels like everything else since has been either trying to modernize it or like try to go back and just hasn't been successful. Like I think about Horizon, Kevin Costner's disastrous movie that is clearly trying to go back to a certain period of time, and that movie just did not work. And I think it's because like the Western has very much evolved. It has very much evolved past being, successful. And if you're not going to do something new, you're going to have a really hard time.
and I think this movie really needed to have this cast and these performances because I think the script is probably the weakest part. Um, and
I
it's
mean,
not like it's because like the women characters are written so poorly, right? Like that's my
I
one
think
issue with
that's
this
true for
movie.
any Western. There are
But
very
for
few Westerns.
specifically like this, it felt like the first love. Oh, I think that was his wife, the blonde woman, right? She's just like thrown away as like a drug addict, like a person who needs help, and she's just like tossed aside, right? And then the other woman, the redhead, she knows that like that Wyatt Earp is involved with this woman, yet she specifically goes after him knowing that. And I felt like that's a little messed up. I get your whole get what you want thing. But man, like that's a little messed up. And then the other women are just kind of on the side, right? And then Doc Holliday's woman, she's just trying to like have him drugged up the whole time so she can just kind of like mooch off him. So it was just like, oh man, these women characters are not being as supportive as I thought they should be, or at least empowering that they could be. But that was the one thing. It was just like a lot of dudes, maybe too many like testosterone, and then the women kind of got thrown to the side a little bit. That's my only issue. And then of
Yeah.
course there's like a longer version of this movie that I don't or I haven't even seen nor have
I
even seen
mean,
deleted
the
scenes.
production of this movie sounds like hell because the screenwriter Kevin Jari was supposed to be the director. He got fired for George Cosmatos, and then George Cosmatos did not apparently direct the movie. Apparently, Kurt Russell is the person who directed Tombstone and just did not want it to be known that he was directing Tombstone. So there's a lot going on. So just the fact that we have this movie and the fact that it is as good as it is, I think speaks to Kurt Russell as not only the lead but the quote unquote director.
Which is crazy because it's like he never became this big actor director that you would think he would become if he did this, right? You know what I mean? Like Ben
I
Affleck
mean,
did it. He just kind of went on his
directing is
way.
hard. Directing is hard.
Yeah. So I don't
I
know if
mean,
this like kind of scared him off from it, or just maybe he just like felt like I have to take the lead because no one else will kind of situation. And I've been in those situations before, right? And you kind of just have to take the lead and go with it. And then maybe he just did that. And I don't know what scenes he did or didn't direct, but I can clearly see that like the Doc Holliday scenes are probably just like Val Kilmer just probably directing his own scenes. You know what I mean? Because he's
yeah,
probably just carrying the tone and the weight of everything. So he doesn't really need help in terms of directing that because whatever research he did, he just knew how to play this Doc Holliday character right, and it was just spot on from
absolutely.
the start. And God, I mean, I don't know how he got so pale for the role. Did he probably like just stay indoors for like a couple weeks and then like not sleep a lot to get
I
that
mean,
groggy look?
makeup's the hell of a thing when you do it when you know how to do it correctly.
Right. But if you're a method actor like some people, you never know. But it felt like he was going method with it. And like, just God, I mean, by the end of the movie, you feel so bad for the guy because he could barely, sit on a horse. And tuberculosis is like something that like is so like, especially what 1869, 70, whatever this was, like good luck. You know what I mean? Like we can cure it today if you get to the hospital quick enough, right? But
Uh,
you'll be in the hospital for a while still. But if you're just like sitting around doing nothing and playing poker the whole time, it's just going to consume you, which it did. So, very heart wrenching ending, right? Because considering what the death of Val Kilmer this year, seeing him on his deathbed at the end of the movie, in a way, kind of fitting to kind of see him, pass away on screen for us to kind of like mentally kind of comprehend
I
him
mean,
passing
it's
away and
even
realize
worse when you watch Top Gun Maverick. I mean, that's.
that's the one I wanted to avoid because after as soon as he died, I was like, I don't think I can watch that scene anymore. In the middle of Top Gun Maverick,
I
so
mean, Tom Cruise actually behaves like a human being in that scene. It's really strange, but well
yeah,
worth.
yeah, that's the true farewell to Val Kilmer, if anything, which was designed for.
Oh, it
But
absolutely is.
in this case, it's like if you want to see probably his best performance, I think it is his best performance. It's definitely Tombstone. Like,
It's
um,
either this or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is also up there as well.
that's up there. I know people don't like the Island of Dr. Moreau, but god damn it, he was funny in that unintentionally because he was making fun of Marlon Brando. And I know you haven't seen that movie, and it's so
And I will
crazy
never
and messed
watch
up.
that.
But man, he is so off the rails on that. But I even like him in The Saint, and he's just kind of like a basic spiral in that. What other movies I'm trying to think of? Oh, Real Genius, which is one I wanted to kind of put on the list, but I switched it out for the Top Secret. I think Real Genius is one of the more underrated '80s comedies, and he's like really great in that as well.
Hmm.
Um, just so many roles, and I haven't seen the one with the lion. I forget the title of it with Michael Douglas. I think that might be maybe an October kind of review
We'll
for us because
see.
I think that might be an underrated creature feature, so to speak, even though it's two big ass lions killing people. But yeah, he was a star in the '90s, folks, and of course we reviewed Batman Forever, right? And then I don't know, he just kind of focused on being doing his own thing in the 2000s. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is probably the movie that I most closely associate with him being really good. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. And I mean, we've lost so many great performers this year. We've lost, obviously the recent Rob Reiner tragedy as well. I mean, it's been a rough year, and um, much to look forward to though in 2026 on this podcast as we're going to be doing something a little bit different for January. Brian, what are we doing?
Okay, so it's Joe Dante month, and I'm actually giving you an option, okay? Because I haven't actually picked the right match yet, but I'm giving you three options, okay?
Oh
So we're
God.
opening up the year with Small Soldiers. Of course, Small Soldiers is about toys going to war with each other. So the obvious idea is what? We do war games, we do Survivor Series. So I'm giving you the choice, Jerome. Survivor Series 2001, the Alliance versus WWF with the famous speech with what's his name?
Classic Freddie Blassie.
Blassie Freddie Blassie with the famous speech. The other option is the War Games from '92, which is one of our all-time favorite matches because the Dangerous Alliance versus Sting Squadron. Or do you want to go indie and do the BDK versus Shikara Cybernetico with the return of Larry Sweeney?
I think we have to do the '92 War Games. I think
Okay,
that's
I
the
gave you
choice.
the option to do the Cybernetico because I know because I've remembered like I was like, oh yeah, that was a big deal considering like the good guys
It
versus the
was a
bad
really
guys.
big deal. The match itself is just it's fine. Like it's okay, but it peaks with Sweeney's return. That's that's the thing.
And as I
Yeah, it's
recall,
good.
Claudio wasn't the last one; it was like the big guy or something like that.
Yep,
Yeah.
it
But,
was.
okay,
Yep.
so we're going Sting Squadron. So it'll be Small Soldiers paired with Sting Squadron against the Dangerous Alliance, one of the all-time great war games,
Plus, I
probably
think
the best
Sting
war
and
games
the
of all
lead.
time.
Plus, Sting and the lead toy have same haircut, right?
Oh yeah, the Steve Borden haircut. That's
Yep.
true. And yeah, we'll be talking about that and Tommy Lee Jones and the little things with the casting that I didn't realize at the time, like how like all the bad guy soldiers are all the old voices from like the Magnificent Seven or something like that. So it's those old. It's
Tremendous.
like yeah, it's that old guard like facing the new guard kind of thing. And of course, Joe Dante's trying to like make fun of it all and have fun with it. So I remember watching this as a kid and loving it, and I haven't watched it in a while, but I was just like, man, I remember having so much fun with that. And then of course, the legacy of the rodeo burger at Burger King goes with it. So we'll talk about that next week.
Yes. So for Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.
Okay, so we settle on Sting Squadron and the Dangerous Alliance. I'm cool with that.
Yes.
Cool with that because that is actually like 18 minutes or 20 minutes, and it's like what a war game should be in terms of length.
Yes.
And I will give you the forum or the platform to do your rant on the time lengths of a
Oh
war
my
games
God.
match and what needs to be cut out.
And to
See, I
be
don't know, like
fair, it's both companies. Like I think both companies
right,
do a
but
tremendous.
for me, like I know WWE does it on pay per view, so why do they make it so long even though it's on pay per view? AEW does it because they have commercial breaks, right? That's my only.
I mean, I guess it's so bad.
Because when I went to the War Games in 2018, when I was still watching, was it 2018? The NXT one, right? That was like 40 minutes, and I was like, wow, okay, you know what I mean? But
So apparently, Joe Dante wanted to cast a Predator to voice the Commando Elite. That would have been funny.
oh man, but oh, some of those dudes might have been too, I don't know, criminal or that Indian
Would have
dude
been
was like a
great,
criminal.
man. That would have been
Yeah,
tremendous.
yeah, and the rodeo burger is actually not that bad, and I think it actually, from what I read, it actually helped Burger King a lot or something like that in terms of like cheap food. So there you go. All right, I'll cut this
So you gonna watch
together.
the Rams tonight?
Yeah, I'll probably half watch it. I'm not like, I don't think they're going to get the first seed. I'm kind of just open to whatever and just kind of be humble about it. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, if yeah, they're probably if they could get the fifth seed though,
It's whoever. Is that the one that they play Tampa Bay?
or Carolina.
Okay, yeah, that's the yep, that's the easy one. But who
Yep.
knows? So whatever.
All right. So I will get this off to you very shortly. Have a good
All
one.
right,
Bye.
like